Well, let me tell you a little something about me. When it's Saturday night, I need to blow off some steam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I've been rolling in since the clock came Monday morning. From the end of the week, I'm about to blow. Breeze walking through the honky tonk like a pack of wolves now. Order up around the traps and it's away we go.
It's Equipment Talk from IRAY Auctions. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out here today again. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Jordan. And thank you, Troy. We're going to have a little discussions here today again about some of the effects of what's going on in the equipment world. So what's our first topic there, Logan?
Oh, me this time. Okay.
We'll switch it up.
They want to replace diesel.
They want to replace diesel.
That's right.
With everything?
Yeah. According to this article, I'll just read you the headline. State opens grant applications for heavy-duty diesel vehicle replacements. And I think somewhere in here it's talking about the the Department of Environmental Quality Divisions of Air Quality. That's a long
DAC.
That's a long department name. Jesus.
Does it say what state this is?
Riley, North Carolina, it looks like, I think.
Oh, where they're building.
North Carolina.
Well, I'm suppose, them hotter states, the emissions got to be a little higher, because that heat pushes down on that smoke and that emissions. And
Humidity holding it there.
yeah, humidity's going to do it too, And so you start talking about zeroing out emissions, especially in cities and stuff. I mean, they've been doing a lot of that for vehicles, right? So if you go into California, if you don't have,
they've been putting in big orders. I don't know how many they've been getting.
well, I'll tell you, it is a concern I know all over the world. But you'd think diesel would be probably a little bit less than the types of noxic gases that you're getting off of it. But you still got a lot more heavy ends, and heavy ends are going to cause cancer and tumors.
Well, yeah, basically, I'm just reading through here, and it's basically talking about how it's really actually a mitigation plan, and they've got like a request for proposals, an RFP for $12.9 million from the state to be able to replace old diesel vehicles such as freight trucks with cleaner alternatives.
Even buses, school buses.
Well, yeah, it says down here, switcher locomotives, forklifts, cargo handling equipment.
Air ground support.
They're going for zero emissions, believe it or not.
We've done a lot of that around here already. As far as like the metro buses, which a lot of metro buses have switched to either propane or electric for a majority of them.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of them that are switching to propane that were diesel before.
I know a lot of them use like natural gas and stuff too.
Well, there's a lot of alternatives out there, and what I mean by that is that some of them are hydrogen, right? So it's H2O. If you turn around, you electrolysis it will actually put out the hydrogen and separate it from the oxygen, and you can burn it, right? So your emissions would drop considerably there as well. So it doesn't have to all go electric, but it has to be an alternative fuel that's going to be less toxic.
I won't go too far on that hydro subject. That's been proven a few times, and people have made the motors, and for some reason they end up disappearing. So I'd watch out.
Oh, you think some of the fuel companies are looking out for that one?
I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just...
Well, it's big words for nothing.
Hydrogen is bigger in California because they have actual hydrogen stations there. Because that was the biggest problem, was putting up those hydrogen stations to refill.
Oh, is that right? So
for cars anyway.
Well, and I get that, because they want to do it all in one place instead of having it something on your vehicle, because the backfire of it would be highly explosive because it's a gases instead of being a liquid, right? And liquid doesn't burn, only the vapors burn.
Hydrogen's, well, you consider that real flammable.
Yeah,
I got it as
number one on the atomic scale.
Well, you go put a lighter up to your gas tank and see what happens.
You're just going to burn the end. Unless she's empty. If your tank was empty, she's going to pop.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I burnt a hole in gas tanks. Not on purpose. Not on purpose.
Allegedly.
I'm a little smarter than that. Yeah. So that was at another time. We'll talk about that later. But
sounds like we need some heavy equipment training.
It wasn't equipment.
or vehicle training.
Because diesel doesn't burn the same as gasoline. It's actually diesel will burn at way slower rate, but it's actually a hotter rate. It's way hotter. That's why diesel's in these engines with high compression, so that they'll do the pull they do, and they're built heavier. Bearings, everything. It's not like your car running up and down the road.
Isn't the spark caused from compression in diesel
Yep,
motors?
it's compression.
There's no spark plug in the diesel motor.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't your car diesel?
It
Yeah.
is, and I love it.
You love the smell.
Even though they got discontinued, I love my little car with a diesel.
Yeah, I had a little car at one time that it had a 6-speed in it with a diesel engine,
That's what I got.
and I get 51 to 54 miles to the gallon. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
If I wasn't so big, I might get there.
Yeah, I didn't weigh as much as you did.
Can you roll coal?
What's that?
Can you roll coal?
No, I'm actually all about the efficiency of the vehicle. I'm not trying to that, and I've had that done to me, mostly by my brother.
When they shift down and watch it smoke.
Thanks, buddy. I can't. Thank you.
You ever had that happen, Logan?
No.
Where you're riding your motorcycle and
coal
somebody
on?
shifts the diesel down, so you just smoke
You
out.
No, I don't put myself in a position to be in that position.
Well, I thought you lived in a city.
Throw up.
Well, yeah, but like,
Bumper to bumper?
No.
listen, disclaimer. This is false information I'm about to tell you. It's not true, okay? I've never done these things. I don't
Hypothetically,
stay
have.
behind cars and trucks on the motorcycle, okay? We go past those things. We stay ahead of traffic, not behind it.
Hypothetically, you do.
Hypothetically, I
Yeah,
do.
okay.
Yeah, right.
So no speeding tickets on your record.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hypothetically, no.
Yeah, hypothetically. Allegedly.
Allegedly, no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
The
kind
rolling coal is, it's like, hey, that's actually a lot of people and a lot of companies have gotten fined for that by the EPA because exactly that, modifying your exhaust systems and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, you know what? You're a company who modifies exhaust systems for diesel vehicles, and you deleted these things, and now we're going to fine you $150,000 because you did that,
yeah.
or more in some cases.
Well, they're getting tough on it because they don't want people to alter the emission systems, and they put them on there for some reasons. Some are not as good as others because if you were to look at a Max Force engine, we could probably bring that one up from International. Yeah, they're in the shop more than they're on the ROAD.
Everybody knows it. Never mind.
Well, I think in the heavy equipment world, it's perfectly reasonable to have emissions laws and stuff like that. But a lot of what other people outside that world have a problem with, because it kind of trickles down too. Is like it's like you can't modify your car, or you can't modify your whatever that is yours or whatever. Like and if you do, it's got to be something special that doesn't go on the road and things like that. You can only use as like a thing you haul around on your trailer, like a race car, for instance, or whatever.
Well, if you can roll coal for 10 minutes, that's kind of a safety hazard.
I agree. I don't, nobody likes a truck exhaust in your ear. I'm just talking about like, just because just take a state like Virginia or California, for instance. Like if you modify your exhaust system, make it sound a little cooler, just on your regular car, that's not even a diesel. You're not allowed to do that. You get fined for that.
What if you keep the cat?
You get fined for that. I'm pretty sure somebody can fact check me on that. But
I feel like we should.
I know for a
just
fact
make
if you
more
delete your cat.
laws, I just feel like we should make more laws and more rules because our government is so important.
Well,
I think that was sarcasm.
that was sarcasm. That was sarcasm.
Very sarcastic.
No, they got a lot of things to figure out. I mean, you look at vehicles and you look at, equipment. If you go to California, right, you can't alter the equipment or the vehicles. You come to maybe Indiana out in the country, you might get by with, altering the vehicle.
Emissions, you definitely can. I do.
I do.
Okay.
Hypothetically.
No, I don't need to be hypothetical about that. We don't have emissions laws in Indiana.
Yeah, and see,
Currently, at least.
well, yeah, you're getting pretty close when you start talking some of these states that are around you that are doing it.
Yeah,
It's
or
going
even federal agencies.
it's going to adopt. So, and some of it is federal regulation, not a state regulation as well. But, when you start talking, all these diesels, they need the power, and when you start putting collectors and let's say baffles on them to stop that smoke and to collect that carbon, you're going to take the power away.
Exactly.
And we have to figure out how to make more power than less power with less emissions. That's what we have to figure out. So they got a big job in front of them, and I know there's probably a million ways to do that, but
Electric motors.
Well, it's one of the simplest ones right now, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna have something to charge it.
Be interesting if we could be able to actually pursue the hydrogen power to the point where it would make it as powerful as say a diesel motor.
Isn't the only
I don't know if
exhaust
it's
from that like
possible.
vapor?
Yeah, there's pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
Pretty much, it's
a fart in the wind.
I think it's like almost 99% clean burn.
But you still have residual from what? Where? You're going to have on a motor, if you ran it through a motor, you're going to have oil, and you're going to have carbon, and the carbon's going to come from the steel, and that's going to drop into the oil, and you're going to have air coming in that's going to have dirt particles, and because it's a pump, the engine's a pump, and so your emissions on your fuel could be 99%, zero emissions, but when you start talking what it's bringing in and some of the components that it's creating, it's going to change it up as well because you got to change your oil, right?
Well, but if we're going to bring those sorts of things into perspective, then we can do the same thing to electric motors. So then it's not really because then you've got
electric's really there's not a lot of
Well, I think
there's
with
no
the
oils.
I personally think with the oils and stuff like that, it's like if the fuel burns cleaner, like it's hydrogen, whatever, then the fuel or the oil doesn't get contaminated as much as it does with regular fuel.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because you ever looked at your air cleaner?
my air cleaner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it get dirty?
Of course it gets dirty.
Okay. So your oil's going to get dirty because it's coming through, right?
Yeah, but at least the air is filtered, just the same way that fuel's somewhat being filtered now too, because that's really the main ingredient, right? Is like the fuel mixture with the oil, when it explodes,
Well, it's the residual from the non-burn. Because
I don't know how a hydrogen engine works, so please forgive me, but it's like, does it explode?
yeah,
Probably.
it has to.
Probably internal combustion.
Hydrogen, it burns just like gas.
it burns like gas.
It's a
more like
vapor.
gasoline.
Yeah, so then the oil still gets contaminated, maybe slower.
Slower.
Slower, yeah. You feel like the like I'm
No
not.
benefits.
I don't know too much about it, but I feel like it would almost just cause oxidation because of the hydrogen turning to water vapors in there.
I think I need to go take a training class, obviously.
Yeah.
Ray, do you need more lot workers?
Do I need more lot
Lot workers
Yeah. for the working for the lot?
Yeah.
IRA workers.
If you do, you should go to Chattanooga.
Why, are they giving me more workers?
They
They're
announced-
training them.
Yeah.
Well,
You mean no more ding in the buildings? Do we really want that?
no, you can't say that. Yeah, Chattanooga's training people to run equipment, right? And we even have that up here in Minnesota, believe it or not. There's some tech colleges, they call them, or they call them Central Lakes.
I mean, it's probably a good idea if Bobcat was started here,
It started yesterday.
The training
And down in Carroll. Yep.
down in
School-
Chattanooga.
School just opened.
School just opened. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to get taught a little bit about running some equipment, Chattanooga, Tennessee has a training and a development division that it offers for high quality equipment operators. So, if you feel you got high quality, they're going to take you right to the level, right?
Just got to be 18, have a high school diploma or GED, and pass a drug test
Fun
and a
fact.
background check.
Fun fact: Chattanooga has a minor league baseball team,
Oh, they do.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
and I'm pretty sure it's for the Cubs. I'm not sure though.
Well, they're actually what they train you in here. Not only operating, they'll train you how to wear glasses, safety glasses, how to wear actually hard hats, and also how to put earplugs in to kind of save your eardrums. So when you're older, you don't go, huh?
I'm impressed. I'm hoping that they don't have the 3M style that's had so
It's
many.
for the Red Zones, wrong? Not the Cubs.
3M, you don't like them?
Well, they did have the giant lawsuit because they're telling the military that it was
Geographically close.
on, and it was not
Oh,
what they said.
well.
But I can't believe that they have training on how to ratchet a hard hat. and or how to put on safety glasses.
Well, you know, people are learning a little earlier in life, you know, at 18.
I'm
Well,
just saying,
here's the
if
one
you
thing.
can't figure out how to go like that to tighten up a hard hat, maybe you got bigger problems.
Well,
That's all I'm getting at.
I'm going to say this, that, you know, it's no different than putting a safety belt on. Until you're trained, you probably ain't going to do it. And the other thing about it is when you start looking at training on this stuff, you know, you don't have what we had back, you know, 25, 30 years ago, where the grandpa or the dad had a construction company, or maybe he was doing it part-time, and he had the kids along helping him out. Today, it's a hazard if you got them on a job site and they're under 18. And some of them have to be what? They got to be certified for something, right?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking on job sites, a lot of them didn't matter how old you were, they were just hazards.
Are you talking about the operator, or are you talking about the job site?
That's
Both.
a worse a piece.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know. He had a truck last auction, huh? Was that last auction or was that the one before it?
which one?
Oh, the one that got hit by a.
Oh, golly. I'm going to tell you what, you know, I don't care where you go, you're going to find operators that aren't operating correctly.
It doesn't even
So,
matter if they
the
got a
last
camera.
auction, the last auction we had, I decided to sell my little Dodge, because my Dodge, I had it since '06, and it was brand new, four-door, and it was yellow, and it worked good with our caution tape and all the stuff. So we decided to sell it. Well, no more than sold it, and they had it parked outside the yard for a guy to pick it up, and our loader operator, skid loader,
No names.
decided to jump in the skid loader, and he didn't look where his surroundings were. He started up, backed up, and smashed right into the pickup. So that was not a great experience for me. But I'm going to send him to this school, and he might learn how to put his hard hat on, his safety glasses, and look around.
Yeah, that was funny when I heard about
It's
that.
still in the shop, I think, ain't it?
According to OSHA, when you're inside of a machine, you're not required to wear a hard hat. But that was funny, seeing as he even had the backup camera. So I don't know on that one.
You can see a bright yellow object.
Bright yellow. I mean, good Lord, it's like the sun was driving at you.
Yeah, I have a hard time sometimes with some of that stuff, and that's just the way it works, I guess, is that, you know, if we're going to have people working, we're going to have people that are going to be having problems.
Have you ever had an employee steal any equipment?
Equipment?
Yeah.
They don't steal equipment. They
'Cause
borrow
where would
it.
you
If they're
put
an
it?
employee, they
Where
borrow
would you
it.
put it? Where would you put it?
They borrow it.
They borrow it.
They don't
not gonna
steal.
be-
Somebody got their equipment stolen on private land.
You're not gonna be putting like a D9 in your garage, and then just keeping it in there.
Yeah, but some people have big, big barns and stuff like that.
I guess, but if you got a barn that big, you shouldn't be struggling so bad. You gotta go steal.
Well,
I
you
feel
know,
like you'd see the cleat marks from a machine that big walking up the driveway.
a lot of times what happens with those types of things is that, you know, you get somebody that's smarter than the law, and they can borrow somebody's piece of equipment, or maybe they borrowed it and they're not returning it. So
They lost it.
yeah, so they'll actually pick up a piece of equipment like that, take it up in the deep woods where maybe they'd be working, and use it for that job, and drop it in another deep woods is what can happen. And it has happened. Or you find it where somebody takes it to a site where they don't move it off that site, and they'll probably grind off serial numbers and
Well, those funny plates that got said one time.
funny plates.
Finding different plates, different numbers, switching numbers on them.
Oh, well, that was what you brought up before. Couldn't they buy plates and
They
switch
can
them out?
buy.
and
They
stuff?
can buy plates.
Yeah, and
People do buy the plates, and then they'll actually, if people aren't checking it good enough, then they can actually take a unit that's like stolen, make it look legit, and sell it, and it'll get past their systems.
well, New York State Police are out investigating now. They said that they're looking for a lot of thefts with heavy equipment that's been stolen from the public, and they're looking for public help to see where the equipment's going. If you see some yellow iron going down the road, give us a call. I think their phone's lit up, especially if they were sitting in front of our yard.
Well, Cat 307, you'd think you'd notice that.
A 307E, that's what they're saying, a 307E, a 2017 model. April 6th, 16th. It was a Saturday. Somebody grabbed this 307E and decided that it's an excavator, by the way. It's not a big excavator, but it's an excavator. You can't put it in the trunk of your car. You could put it on a trailer, but the trailer's got to be heavy enough. It's going to have to be a tandem axle dual trailer that will handle about 20,000 pounds.
Let's not get into the descriptions of what you would need to steal one.
Oh, I'm saying. Well,
I mean, but
okay.
And it could be in a really big barn. Could be in the woods.
But it could just be anywhere because it's just a yellow excavator. I mean, the only thing that anybody else
hide
would
it on
know
a
is
job
it's an
site.
excavator. The only person who's really gonna know and be like, "Hey, that's my excavator," is like if you actually drive by where it's
They
at.
could go to a New York job site for construction and just leave it there, and then come back. when they're all
Exactly. Like how
gone
many
and
people
get
have the
leave.
same model excavator? You know, you'll be like, "Hey,
Dad
that's
bought me a new one.
hey, that's my excavator." You know, and then you go look at it and like the serial number is not the same, and it's like, oh, but it still could be. You never know.
Well, you've seen some of them deals on the movies where they turn around and move it down to Mexico or something like that, you know, where they don't see it. I think it's harder to do now than it
But
probably
they
was
still have to
back.
cross state borders with an excavator.
Well, you were bringing up a good point before I made my joke. Is that there it's a size where transportation is easy enough, and that's one of the reasons why that size is kind of a coveted piece is because it is transportable within reason.
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, you start getting into, you know, just smaller units in general, but we'll do a lot of work, you know. Skid loaders, they'll do a lot of work, you know. And excavators, they do a lot of work. You get wheel loaders, again, a wheel loader, depending upon the size, but, you know, you start getting into those, and you don't want to get them too big because they're pretty hard to haul.
Well, then they get tall.
Well, and what's happening too is that, you know, there's people that are buying, like we had an auction, you know, a third auction back, we had 3 wheel loaders that got sold, and they're going over to Egypt and over to Saudi Arabia, and they're going over to Libyan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're hauling them across. But just think, if they were to come in here, they got to trust us first, right? That we're selling equipment from an owner that owned it, not somebody that isn't, and we're pretty tight about making sure that this guy had a UCC filing on it, and he owned the piece of equipment when he goes to sell it. So don't think about bringing us any equipment in that you don't own, because we don't go that way.
Don't want it.
We don't need it. But anyways, you know, there's a lot of trust in that. And when you look at those types of pieces, there's, you know, we had a guy call actually today about a piece of equipment that we've got on the auction, and he says, well, I plan on spending a lot of money on that, so I want to know some particulars, which I get it, you know, because otherwise, you know, they're going to get something that maybe isn't what they thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But the stealing part, there's everybody's, you know, I want it fast and I want it easy, right?
And we don't want stolen equipment.
I figured skiddies would be one of the biggest stolen pieces
They
of
are,
equipment.
probably.
Yeah, you know, somebody should do that for our next one, is find out what is the most or the most popular piece of equipment that has been paid out by the insurance companies because it's been stolen and they've been paid out.
Get us a top 10 list there.
We'll look at that for the next podcast, a top 10 list.
I'd be willing to bet skid loader's got to be pretty dang close to the top.
Probably.
I mean, it's got the easiest to get a hold of or get away with, even
Yeah.
if you just jump in it and drive. I mean, you're not going to get as far as fast, but
I'm going to tell you
Right,
what,
you
the
can put 'em on
neighbors
trailer.
might see you.
there's a chance. Nothing else will hear
It
you.
will fit in a garage.
They will fit in a garage. You're exactly right. But
Not that I would ever.
The answer to that?
Yeah.
what is the answer to that?
Oh, in order, it's backhoes,
Really?
skid steers, and then tracked and wheeled. I don't know if that
Track and wheel loaders.
Yeah, track and wheel loaders.
Yeah. So it does come up to be excavators, and I'm going to say mini on up to medium,
Yeah.
then skid loaders, and then track and wheel loaders. So, yeah, they got her down. They're probably the easiest to use in a lot of different situations as well. Because, I mean, who's going to go out there and take something that they can't operate or that they're not going to be able to do, you know, the job with that they'd like to perform?
Well, I just keep thinking the forgive my language, but the balls on these people.
Just
I
go
mean-
tobacco.
Well, I mean,
No,
in the
it's
regards of,
intelligence.
I mean, in the regards of like, because those machines, when you start them, they're loud. So, if you're within any sort of reason, I mean, I hear a machine start up at 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, what in the world is going on right now? Because you're going to hear it throttle up right away.
Right.
And I'm sorry for the language. You find different context for it next time, but it's
But people shouldn't have that kind of mentality, is what you're saying.
well, yeah, it just seems it's very bold.
Well, that's why they put jails out there and stuff too.
True.
Yeah.
That's why they need the heavy equipment to get out.
Right.
Well, the heavy equipment will definitely get them out.
So let's go on to maybe some heavy equipment as far as the market is being established, as far as in that market. They're saying that
By 2030, it'll account for $113 million.
What do you mean?
construction equipment market.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be 113 million in terms of value by the end of 2030. So right now, the U.S. is valuing at 70.39 million in 2021, and then they're saying they're supposed to go up to 113.70 million by 2030. Now, well, and they're talking about work, I think, more than anything, right there.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, they're not talking about the equipment themselves. They're talking about what work is out there.
This is equipment that are like.
There's well, $100 and some million piece of equipment would be pretty substantial. But I'm not saying that it couldn't be out there, because I've seen some diggers that, and I call them wheel diggers, and they're actually mining machines. You ever seen those in some videos and stuff?
Oh,
They're
the wheel-
massive.
the wheel hose. Those things are.
Yeah, they're like a wheel that has a bucket like every so many
Yeah.
feet, and it just keeps scooping and
They-
digging.
Yeah.
And it's cutter wheel basically is what it's like, and goes back and forth. So
I'm pretty sure that's one of the most is the most expensive piece of machinery.
the one I'm telling you about,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it is. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I didn't do a market analysis on it, but I kind of think they're not cheap. So when you start talking hundreds of millions,
Oh, I
there's one right
figured all you had to do is say mining. And then
that hit it, huh?
that would be an indicator for me, because that.
I'm
kinda
glad the
makes
world
everything-
figured out that instead of digging tunnels, you just dig up the whole earth.
Well,
Right.
I mean, they do make tunnel boring machines as well.
Well, there's less
For mining, though?
opportunity for cave in.
Well, depending upon what you're mining, because there is veins of stuff if you're mining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Geothermal power.
Even now, for the most part, if you're mining gold or your copper, they've turned to open pits for the most part instead of shaft
Yeah.
pits.
Well, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Take a life out or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
Bear has one.
I have a feeling LeBear. Yeah.
well,
Is that a giant?
Well,
I feel like I saw it because if I remember right, in Germany, LeBear has a machine that is the largest land crawler.
electric.
I don't know if it's electric or diesel, but I remember taking pictures of it in the landscape, and it seemed like it was about as tall as all the power lines, which was pretty impressive.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of machines.
whoever's operating that unit's getting
Still
paid
up
good.
there.
I'll
Hey.
bet they are.
The Bear.
So hey, if you're looking for jobs out there in that heavy equipment market,
Mm.
what'd you say?
Still up. It was the one I was looking at. Yeah. that
Lee Bear?
Bear.
Yeah, Liebherr. Liebherr is it's been around for a while.
If
They
they're
won't
looking
give
for
me the price for this.
it's millions of dollars, hundreds
Email
of millions of dollars.
email if interested.
But you got to think about machinery in itself. They use it in most all mining operations. You need machinery, right? So if it has to do with moving dirt or earth, you need equipment, and you're going to need heavy equipment. If it's building, you're going to need equipment, heavy equipment.
Yep.
If it's fixing roads or building infrastructure, which is anything from power to gas to electric, whatever it is, that you're pumping in, you need equipment. So this equipment world isn't going to go away.
No, it's not, and it's going to offer a lot of jobs, millions of dollars worth of jobs too. So if you're looking for, like I was about to say, before my friend wanted to know how much a bucket wheel excavator costs. It's $100 million, by the way, around
100 million.
Yeah, $100 million.
Wow.
That's why I thought that price was low.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of good to know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I already knew it was very over $100 million. So, anyways, lots of money, and I think that's about enough time we have for this episode.
Talked about money, theft.
Well, we talked about everything, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Well, again, I want to thank you guys for coming out here today on this podcast and doing the talk, the machinery talk here, equipment talk.
Yep.
And we're going to find some new topics for you that you might enjoy, and hopefully you do. And it is about equipment, but it'll also be about kind of the new things that will be coming that we're going to see in the future. Along with that, we do have an auction coming up here, which is going to be every 4 to 6 weeks. But the next one is going to be on Wednesday, and that is May 18th. And we're going to start the live simulcast at 8 a.m. So we do want to see you there. And again, I'm Ray Henry. They call me the Colonel.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Troy.
See ya. Bye.
Logan. Jordan.
Jordan, you're welcome, Evan.